Hello and welcome to a special Star Citizen-ish video. I've been working on a project called Scrap Heap Citizen, trying to build a gaming rig out of server and second-hand components as cheaply as possible. And it should be relatively repeatable by people that want to do the same too. It's not me going up to people and asking me to get hardware for free or anything. It's stuff bought on eBay that you'll also be able to find. And it was nothing that was sort of like out of the ordinary. These sales are going on all the time, and if you look around and do a bit of research and are a little bit patient, you'll be able to get similar results. We're going to go over the hardware that I got and why, and then we're going to do some benchmarks. We're going to be using the latest version of 3D Mark and Star Citizen Alpha 2.1.2 with a Geforce 980 Ti. Now, this is my cheat component. I'm going to be using an EVGA superclocked GTX 980 Ti here to see if the system scales well, because let's face it, the graphics card is going to be the only component that we're not going to be able to get super cheap. But if the system gets great results or bottlenecks on the card, we know that we're on to a winner. Hopefully we can answer the question, can you make a thrifty Star Citizen machine that's also VR ready? And this is another important fact for me. I wanted it to be VR ready because why not? And just as another little note, we're not going to be using any crazy overclocks or anything like that either. Scrapyard Citizen was totally inspired by a Linus Tech Tips video that I saw, and I thought I could gear some of the hardware choices better for my needs, for the needs of Star Citizen and VR. So this is the messy internals of my beast at the moment. I would, if I was going to use it regularly, neaten them up. There's a lot going on here. On eBay, servers are constantly going on sale, and with a bit of research, you can pick up a lot of powerful hardware extremely cheaply. The HP server range was the focus of a few days of my eBay stalking. I found that the Generation 6 or G6 servers were perfect for my needs. They had manuals online, PCI Express slots, dual 1366 CPU support, and Windows 10 driver support, which was all incredibly important to me. Some servers just won't be appropriate when looking, requiring custom cases or huge expensive mods to get working. They won't have Windows 7 or 8 or 10 support at all. There are also a variety of other issues, low amounts of USB ports, no onboard sound, limited hardware support. Everything here requires a bit of research to get working properly. Especially for the server and server board that you pick. So I'm quite lazy as a person, and I saw that the ML 150 to 350 range from HP had some great G6 servers, which were perfect for me, and they're all available in Tower. So they're basically, you can get them and they look like a normal PC, and the expansion slots and all the faffing you need to do is like building a normal PC. I found about a dozen of them on eBay auctions from the UK when I looked. The main thing I wanted here was a server board, case and power supply, preferably in combo. And for £30, I was able to snag a ML350 G6 tower. That also came with a processor, which I'm not going to use, but I'll sell or do something with, and 6 gigs of RAM, which I will use. Moreover, it had a fully working, fans here, bam, 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 all those working. It had a passive CPU cooler on that CPU, which I will be using, and a 460 watt power supply. Now, that's quite a low wattage, but we'll come to that in a moment, because there are ways around this. I wanted a socket 1366 because you can pick them up incredibly cheaply, and they're just in the kind of area where they support DDR3, they're comparable to some i7 processors, and they're pretty compatible with Windows 10 and other hardware. They're like the newest generation that's cheap. It's basically what I wanted to go for. So I was able to pick up 2 Xenon 5550X processors for £10 each. They have 4 cores with hyperthreading, so that's 8 logical cores each, giving my system 8 physical cores and 16 threads in total. They boost to 3 GHz as well, which is okay. I would really prefer a more powerful core speed, but at that price, I can't complain. Basically, I had to look up all the compatible CPUs with this server board, the 350 ML server board, and I looked at the one that was the cheapest before they started to get quite expensive. So when you get to a certain level of this CPUs that are a little bit more powerful, the high-end ones are used to squeeze a bit more life out of servers, so they retain their cost. But these ones are high-end, but they're not at the top end. So you're able to get quite powerful chips at a good value. Now, whether you're going to be using these stock coolers or not, I really recommend cleaning off the old thermal compound. You can see there, that's something that's not clean. And replacing it with some better thermal compound. So even if you're using the CPUs that come with it and you're not planning on changing them out or whatever, it's worth cleaning it off just in case. You don't know how long that server's been there for. And then getting some quality thermal compound like this stuff as well. Some Noctua stuff. Or Arctic Silver, whatever. I'm not shilling for any one particular company. I'll shill for them all! Is a really, really good idea. Because, yeah, as I said, the thermal compound might be really old, it might be crap, whatever. Always replace that, it's a great idea. Now, I talked earlier about the 460 watt PSU. So, getting a PSU with the server already means that I don't have to faff about with compatibility issues. Sometimes you get proprietary like power supplies that need to be used with server boards and that sort of stuff. So that's really annoying. If you're buying just the board, then you have to find the right power supply or wire up a power supply yourself, which can be either time consuming or dangerous. And I don't have time for that. That's why I bought a tower with a PSU and board together. That was the main buy. So it's nice and easy. You don't need big case mods, and I have that power there. But that 460 watt power supply is not going to power my graphics card needs if I want to make a VR ready or a Star Citizen computer. So you can grab a second PSU. I was able to find a Thermaltake Smart 430 watt power supply with an 80 plus rating. That suits my needs basically. It has a 6-pin power connector for graphics card that I'm going to be using, and I can use a 6-pin Molex adapter, and then I can get my 980 Ti working. I've also bought myself an Atx Slave Card. So you can see that there. And they were £10 each, the power supply and the Atx Slave Card. So that Atx Slave Card, that allows me to plug in my second PSU and then plug a power adapter from the first PSU. And then when I turn on my PC, both power supplies come on. When I turn off my PC, both power supplies go off. You can jury rig it with a paperclip apparently, and you can use cheap cables to do the same thing, but for this small extra expense, I'm willing to pay that for ease of use and for 100% working and not blowing myself up. And Bitemarks, one of my active community members, and quite active in the Star Citizen community in general, donated a 660 Ti, which we then went out and got quite drunk after meeting up to exchange this graphics card. So I'm using it just in the rig so that I can record it being on and do other stuff. It was also used just to test to make sure I wasn't going to blow up my 980 Ti. So let's see a quick summary of what we have. We've got that HP ProLiant ML350 server in a tower. We've got dual Xenon X5550 processors, 12 gigabytes of DDR3 10700 RAM, 2 power supplies totaling 890 watts. Another quick note on power supplies, actually cheap power supplies can be crappy and or dangerous. Always do research on your power supplies. Check out the reviews. Check out the official reviews as well. It's very important. I also grabbed a PCI Express sound card because my server board had no onboard sound, which was an additional £6. So in total, the rig at the moment cost me £86. There is another additional admission here. So I had to pay £20 to get the server delivered, which I didn't include in the cost. So that's £106 in total, excluding an SSD and graphics card. That is approximately at the moment $152. So benchmarks, this is probably the most important thing of the whole experiment. I'm using Windows 10 64 here and the latest version of 3D Mark Firestrike. It benchmarks at 13,535. That is pretty damn good. My personal gaming rig gets almost 16,000, but costs a lot more. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds more. Specs in the description for my actual personal gaming rig, and it's what I wanted. This is what we wanted here. We're getting significantly over what is VR ready PC levels. So in Star Citizen with this rig, I'm hitting between 80 and 100 frames per second on 1080p in very high graphics mode when in the hangar. In Vandal Swarm, so this is more of a test of what it's actually like. I'm hitting around 45 to 70 frames per second on very high, without any tweaks, without any overclocks, without using a user.cfg. We're getting genuinely lovely performance. And you've got to remember here too, this rig that I'm using is not set up properly for recording. It's going to be having quite a lot of strain on that CPU from recording this as well. So, oh yeah, I was having some odd issues as well. Like when I was trying to record, it was occasionally locking my frames per second to 30. Damn you, OBS. But this is some great performance, much better than what I thought was going to get. Now, how much is that 980 Ti actually putting towards that system? Well, probably quite a lot, but you could grab a AMD 290 as cheaply as 120 to 140 pounds secondhand on eBay. I know, because I did in the past. And you would still have a powerful Star Citizen and VR-ready gaming rig. Now, yes, Star Citizen is in alpha, and its recommended specs are in flux, but this is to show with a bit of research and effort, you can build a really cheap gaming rig that is extremely powerful, and with all that money saved, maybe you can now afford that 980 Ti or a more powerful graphics card. There are obviously issues with the server stuff, as I've said. For example, as a USB note, there's only 2 USB ports on the system. If you need more USB stuff, then you're going to have to buy a hub or a USB card. In fact, to make it VR ready for the Oculus Rift, you're going to need at least 4 USB ports, so you're going to need some form of cards to make it even VR ready truly as well. Also, with the system that I went for, there was only one PCI Express 16 times slot, and it was only 16 times mechanically. It was actually only an 8 times electrical slot, meaning that I'm going to lose a small percentage at least. It was Generation 2, so hopefully not too much, but I will definitely lose a small percentage of frames or score from that 8 times slot. For those of you that are interested, the CPU's even under full load, even though one of them is cable-tied, literally cable-tied to the motherboard, never went over 56 degrees. That is pretty sweet. For me now, though, it begs the question, for a couple of £100 or a couple of $100 more, could I build a PC out of those server components that it's better than my current gaming rig? And if so, should I move over to it and sell my gaming rig for quite a large profit? Profit. But anyway, if you don't mind putting the legwork in and reading, researching, and all that jazz, then you can make yourself a gaming rig extremely cheaply. I can't iterate enough, though, the importance of being patient with the eBay auctions and reading up exactly what is compatible for any given server or board. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of Scrap Heap Citizen or Scrapyard Citizen or whatever I called it. I quite enjoyed building the system here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more Star Citizen and VR videos. And I will see you guys in the verse. And of course, please feel free to comment if you want to ask any questions. If you're interested more about the build or whatever, I'm happy to answer any questions when I have the time. I am aware also that people might have lots of questions, so sorry if I don't get around to you as quickly as you want. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Really appreciate it.